G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name is Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where I get to talk sailing with some super cool people and my two idiot mates. So first up, joining the show, of course, is Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
BP.
Commitment is the word of the day.
Oh. Are you being committed?
Not only by us, because we're up at this time of day, but of course today is July the 1st. July the 1st being the start of dry July.
Oh, I know where you're going.
There is a big shout out to our mate, Jason Webb, who's put himself up, hands up, and he's going to take it on. Of course, I would like to wish him luck in that, and I think we're all going to do that. And now that he's gone live to air on Bar Karate, the whole world is watching. So, Webby, good luck. From my side, I looked closely at it yesterday. For about 1 minute.
Yeah, lunacy.
And realised there was a Friday, a Saturday and a Sunday involved 4 times, and that was my downfall. So I'm still not grown up enough to take that on. But, Webby, good luck.
It's very nice to publicise your mate and throw him under the bus like that. Good work.
He started it.
Yeah. Let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
I was just scrolling through my messages from yesterday between you two blokes. Mm-hmm. Like generally we have pretty good banter on our channels talking to each other.
Friendly.
And then when I said I'm going on dry July, holy shit, I never saw so much banter coming back towards me.
A lot of hate.
Yeah. It doesn't fit our mantra. I mean, how we become budding beer?
What was it? What did you say there, Jordan?
You can't
believe you have a beer brand and you go dry. What sort of marketing is that, you traitor? Just to be clear, I'm not doing dry July. I was just celebrating for everyone else.
Yeah. Okay. So good luck, Webby.
Boys, I came up with a name for the Bar Karate VX1 when we get one.
Tell me.
Yeah, good. I love this one.
We're going to call it the Delta variant.
Nice.
Because everyone can catch it.
That's it.
Bought very easily.
Easier to catch.
Let's not talk about that. Let's move forward.
Move forward? Yeah. Well, I reckon we should do is before we have the option of picking on Bicey's big press announcement this week, but we'll leave it for the end of the show. But because we've got a really super cool guest this week. I know we get cool guests every week, but this is one we've been saving for a while. You'll be entranced with this conversation. So for our guest this week, some of you will know him as the America's Cup commentator. Some of you will know him as the president of the North Sales Group. Some of you will have faced him on the course and he's taken away one of your wins because he always dominates. Most of us just know him as Kenny. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ken Reid. It's great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys. And I have to reiterate, this dry July idea might be the dumbest idea in history. So I just want to get that out there right away.
Are you on board?
And whoever this guy Webby is, God bless you. You're first of all, you're gonna fail. And
well, I got to say, he's got a mate called Jerry who usually rocks up at about the finish line of every Winter Series race. Comes in a little silver flask, Sailor Jerry.
Oh yeah.
So he's not allowed to go sailing for 4 weeks. Yeah. He's going to be pissed.
Can be hard to go sailing.
Not a chance.
Kenny, you've got an amazing resume. Do you ever think about if you hadn't found sailing, what life would have been for you?
Ice hockey player.
Yeah, well, that wiped out both of my hips, so I would have gone down doing that. I actually was in when I was in university. I studied pre-law, so I think if I hadn't been a sailmaker, I would have probably at least given a shot at law school. But I was one of the guys in my senior year of school that had a job because it was kind of before the pros, came out, and to be a pro meant you went to work for a sailmaker, a boat builder, a mast maker, and I got drafted by a sailmaker right here in Newport and Shore Sails, a guy named Bill Shore, kind of a legend around here. And I had a job. And that job just turned into, it seemed like every day something cool happened. I feel blessed, frankly. In all seriousness, I've had one seriously blessed life so far.
Wonderful.
Very well.
Well, during that, we've said it quite often, but sail making as a trade, that's kind of where, as you alluded to, the professional sailor started, in the sense of doing an apprenticeship or being part of a loft and then going sailing all the time. And that was kind of where it all started from. But you would have seen it from pretty much the early days of still being such a Corinthian type sport all the way through to what you see now.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I had to learn. I got out of school, went straight to the floor, and learned how to cut lightning jibs and stick them together and get behind a sewing machine. And I still don't. I don't admit it very often. I still probably know how to sew a little bit. It was, it was really all around. But the bottom line was they gave you a bunch of boats. You know, lightnings, snipes, J24s, J22s, all these kind of cool little small keel boats at the time, and just go win, just shut up and win. That was really, it really was that simple. And if I could keep winning, then I still had a job, and we'd start selling sails. So it really worked.
Can we go one step further back? Where did it all actually start in terms of, you ended up obviously in the sail loft, but obviously you would have started sailing or been introduced to sailing before that. So where did it start for you?
Yeah, right across Narragansett Bay here, a place called Barrington, Rhode Island, and a little club there. And, we sailed sunfish and started in blue jays, which I hated. They terrified me. But then we sailed sunfish. My parents had a 30-foot cruising boat, and we'd tow the sunfish around the Martha's Vineyard, the Elizabethan Islands, Nantucket, Cape Cod. And like Bicey said earlier, played hockey in the winter, and my dad was a hockey player. He went to Brown University. He was a hockey player there. And so we played hockey in the winter and sailed in the summer. So it was pretty simple life. And, but, got used to winning. My mother was a real athlete. And I think she was a what they call 5-letter. She's in the Hall of Fame in Connecticut College and for athletics. And she had this insane drive. Like she'd take us out and we'd throw basketballs at the hoop, and if she didn't kick our ass, she's like smashing us. She had this insane drive that clearly my little brother Brad and I it wore off on us. There's no question about it.
That's pretty cool.
Good one.
You made the your mum made the Collegiate Hall of Fame. You make the Collegiate Hall of Fame at Boston University, mate.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was cool. And it was always unexpected. I think it's easier to try to take I tell kids all the time, it's easier to find the next rung of the ladder if it's not just ingrained in your head, like you have to get there. If you get there through your own drive and your own intuition, your own skill, you don't have that pressure. So I went to school hoping to make the team, and then won the freshman New Englands that first year. And before you know it, I'm sailing all the varsity events sophomore year, and sophomore, junior, senior. All of a sudden you're an All-American. Then one year they give you College Sailor of the Year, and it just started snowballing. And it's like, shit, I don't want this to stop. Just let's keep going. So an offer of a job in the business. And again, I tell kids all the time, there's lots of stuff to do in sailing, and the amount of young, smart engineers we're hiring right now at North is unbelievable. And these kids are moth sailors, and they're all doing their own fun stuff, ripping around, but man, are they smart. So I think the marine industry really, you don't have to be a pro sailor. There's a lot of cool opportunity out there. And that's what I did. I took advantage of it.
And what, obviously, as Jordan alluded to, mentioned president of North Sails. How did that pathway happen from shores to Norths?
Yeah. Well, so a guy named Dan Nearai and I, who we've been working together now since 1980, getting old, 1985. I think we bought Shore Sails from Bill and Doug Shore. We've been working together in one form or fashion every day since. And we ended up kind of making shore sails to a certain level, and then we started licensing. Remember Sobstad sails?
Yep.
So Sobstad for three or 4 years. That license is going to run out. We were getting pretty good, getting pretty big, at least in the Northeast, and starting to do more traveling and starting to kind of break into some of the big North boats. And 3DL just came out.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, like most sailors, when 3DL came out, and we're making paneled sails or trying to do. Sopstad had something called Genesis. Remember Genesis?
Yeah, we do.
Certainly do. Yeah.
And we couldn't get Genesis. My whole goal, let's just be number 2. You remember the old rent-a-cars, Avis we're number 2. We just want to be number 2. We'll take the crumbs. We're fine with that. But we just couldn't quite get it to work. And right around then, Tom Whidden came knocking on our door and said, we're getting sick of you guys, and we need to get younger, and we need to get some younger people on our internal board of management. And they bought us. And it was a relief because, quite frankly, I thought 3DL was going to be the death of me. I needed to be on that side. If I wanted to keep sailing hard, I needed to be on the side of 3DL. So Tom probably, if he hears this, you overpaid because I would have come for free.
I love it. That's a great response.
And what timing are we talking about here? As far as
so that's just before the Cup with Dennis. So I did the Cup in '95, and I was still with Sopstad, and we put a couple sails on Pack 95.
Yeah,
we ended up losing to Stars and that weird big convoluted the women's team, the Stars and Stripes team, and our team, and shifting boats, and I still to this day don't know what happened, frankly, and then. Then we got bought, and we got bought literally months before Dennis called and asked me if I wanted to go steer kind of a one boat crazy effort in Auckland, and which I said yes to immediately, of course. And even though we thought it was going to be really hard, it turned out to be probably the best Cup program I was ever involved with. Just a bunch of gunslingers, that we had nothing to lose and everything to gain, and barely enough money to scrape together breakfast. And all of a sudden our boat started getting fast, and we started building a little momentum, and we were a race away from getting into the Challenger finals. So it was, that was a really cool campaign, but I was part of North then. And Tom came down, and he was kind of our adult supervision for a while as strategist on the boat. And so I got to know him, and I got to know North, and I certainly got to know the product better. It was kind of a real good kind of a master's in sail making and team management, and certainly sailing with DC or sailing on his program. It was certainly so if you guys have a long time someday, some of the stories are just
go as long as you want, mate. Will
long as you want, because we can do part 2, part 3, part 10, whatever it takes.
It's just, but see, the problem is I'm not the only one. Anybody who's ever been on a Dennis Conner team knows it's a different world, man. It is a different experience. He's a different character. His intelligence on one side is just beyond phenomenal. His kind of forward thinkingness, but then the craziness that surrounds it. So in our second campaign, here's just a quick one. Instead of fairing and putting the new keel on our boat, the entire shore team for over a week built a chicken coop in our compound because he wanted fresh eggs in the morning. So we actually sailed. So we sailed the last the last round. We got eliminated by Spithill, and we didn't have our new keel on board the boat because they had spent time fairing his etchels and building a chicken coop so he could have fresh eggs in the morning.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah. The hydrodynamics of an egg is not that good.
And
that's the cleanest story I can tell.
I've just got visions of this keel with chicken wire and nails and wood hanging off. Oops, we put the chicken coop on the keel, and the keel is in the...
It's not far from it, fellas. I'm telling you. So anyway, it was never a dull moment. Great experience. The first one was phenomenal. The second one was certainly disappointing and had its weirdness to it in its own right. But Cup experiences are Cup experiences. They're all different, and they're all unique, and they all teach you a lot about not just sailing but life.
So that first Cup, the second Cup we're talking about the first one with Dennis was where you made the semis, was the 2000 Cup. The second one was the 2003 Cup, where of course you're on the Stars and Stripes there, and I believe the rudder fell out of the boat or something, and you sunk from
Yeah, we sunk it. So that was Terry's quote.
77.
When he had to go in front of the press this year after they flipped over the American Magic, I think it was the only press conference I went to, because I kind of thought he needed a friendly face in the audience, and sure enough, the first thing out of his mouth was, I'm not the only person in here who's sunk an America's Cup boat, and he pointed at me because he did it first, and he was there with me that day. So yeah, it was a bad day. But of course, Dennis, he cooked barbecue for us that night and celebrated, because he took it as an opportunity to raise money. Like, hey, the whole world's going to feel sorry for us now. So he spun this thing around like only he could do. I
love that attitude. That's brilliant.
True leadership quality, right? Let's not sob. Let's get cracking.
Yep.
So I guess we have to talk about J24s for you, Ken. Like, that has to come, and before all this happens, you've got to prove yourself on the world stage. And for you, it was the World Championships in the J24s, and you went and won back to back, and then you had a bit of a little break, and then you thought, you know what, I'll go back to back to back to back. Were the J24s the thing that pushed you forward, that ability in the Js, do you reckon?
Yeah, we were lucky. I mean, everybody has their hometown, kind of their hometown one designs that help push, like you guys are talking about VX or something like that. Everybody's, the McConaughey 38s in Sydney Harbor, and everybody's got their cluster of good boats. Well, we just happen to live in J24 Central here, and they were all getting built up the bay. They were building 2 or 3 a day for a while. And there are rows down the road of Route 114, rows of brand new J24s waiting to get shipped out. And they were everywhere. So, and we'd have, 20 to 30 boats on a Thursday night beer can series here. And we just got good. You had guys like Ed Adams and Scott Ferguson. And, I think we've had 6 world championships go through here. Skippers come and crews come out of this place. 6 different world champion teams. And so that was just it. And at the time, it was kind of you'd sail a star. If you were a keelboat sailor like I was, it was a starboat, a Soling, or a J24. And the J24, in a way, was kind of the precursor to the Olympics. And I struggled figuring out how to get to the Olympics because I had a business to run the whole time, and Dan and I would talk about it a ton. I didn't see it. We couldn't sell enough starboat sales or sell enough Soling sales to make it worthwhile. And I had to be, serious about the job. We were a small company just trying to make it. And if I won a world championship, it was literally like writing a $250,000 check. And for us, and not those days, that was the difference between having a great year and barely breaking through. So I had to win the world. So that was a business that was mandatory. And so it's really kind of kept me from ever trying for the Olympics, and the Soling really probably was going to be the likely boat, and kept me in the J24. But I'll tell you what, you went around the world back then, and that's where there were some really good sailors sailing in the J24 class. So it got your act together pretty quick.
Part of the business plan, winning the world champs.
You had to. If you came in second, you pretty much crossed it off. But just take 250 off the end of the year, because in one design, everything's about winning. And that's what sells. You can have a fancy clue patch or some great, it doesn't matter. If your sales win, you sell them. If they don't win, you don't sell them. It's a pretty simple strategy.
Did you ever see one go to the bottom? Like, did you ever do the old nose dive?
Yeah. I never did, but I picked a crew out of the water in San Francisco practicing before the North Americans. They flipped it over. The hatch would pop open. Yep. The hatch popped open, and it just went down like a shot. And we picked 5 people out of the water and brought them in, and we went and had a beer. It was not dry July. But it was. I think it was July, but it was not dry July. I can tell you that.
There must be quite a few of those things sitting on the bottom. The rumour is there's one right under the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which is that's got to be pretty amazing to put it there. Like, it doesn't get that choppy.
You got to go diving. Somebody's got to dive on it. It was easy to happen, and then they made rules. We had to put bulkheads in the back of the boats to stop it. But for a while there, it happened. You heard it happening quite often, actually.
Yeah, crazy. But then, of course, that never killed their business. They went on and they continue to make lots and lots and lots of boats. So it must be, You know, living
How
where
many
you...
J24s you reckon have been built?
Well, listen, God bless Bob Johnstone. He's in the Sailing Hall of Fame over here. Rod Johnstone was the designer. Bob was kind of the marketer. And then all the kids have taken the company over. Great. Done obviously the J70 is a phenomenal success. And now they're getting back into some of the bigger boats and doing a great job. But don't ever let Bob stand in the way of a good story. So Bob, every once in a while, like I remember he wanted to show up to the Worlds in Annapolis with hull number 5,000. Well, he just kind of happened to skip like 600-700 boats to get to 5,000. And then they went from 5,000 out from there. And then a great Bob Johnstone story that I told at his Hall of Fame induction was I learned something very valuable, that no boat is fast enough. So I'd go out with him when the J44s came out. I'd go out as the sailmaker. We had sails in the boat. And all of a sudden we're going like 9-3 upwind, and he just had the dial of the Speedo downstairs, and whoever the person was, look at this, we're going 9-3 upwind. This is fantastic. And the boat goes like 6-7 or something. And he would just dial that thing around, whatever it took to get the person all fired up, and off we go. And
Wow.
Phenomenal guy, great salesman, great, obviously kind of a sailing legend in just producing boats, and his kids and his nephews are doing just as good a job right after him.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
Oldest trick in the book, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BP will be doing that soon.
BP will do it on the X2. Yep.
We'll get onto that shortly. I reckon we need to touch on where we've overlapped with you a bit, which is the ocean race. So you jumped into the Volvo, a bit of a gunslinger, as you described, for your first event on the Ericsson. So that was, 3 editions, 2005, 2008, 2011? Yep. Do you like going offshore?
At first, I was certainly, the 2008 was when Bicey was out there with the kids, and
With the kids, I love it.
you know, I followed it closely my whole life. It's kind of like here with the America's Cup here in town. You lived it, and we always had the transatlantic race, the solo transatlantic race, always finished here. My dad and I would go down and check out the boats. So we were addicted to it. I was addicted to it without knowing I was addicted to it. And then that, Bicey, obviously first 2 legs I did was the beat in 40 knots up to New York. And then, then of course the tragedy going across the Atlantic. And I can't even fathom what you guys went through. But for me, that affected me for the rest of my life. My sailing life changed on that leg. And I took a different view, I think, to sailing in general after that leg.
Became real.
Well, I just never wanted to be that person to have to make that phone call. Honestly. And man, oh man, sometimes the shit hits the fan and you're in the thick of it and you're not even thinking about it. But I think somewhere in the back of your mind, you're counting heads. You're just making sure we're not going to be that. Again, it sounds selfish, I think, but I just didn't want to call the husband or the wife or the kid or the father or the mother or whatever. And I can't even fathom that. So, but the flip side of that is the development that goes on, especially with those 70s and all these boats that are going on right now. Charlie's about to put a new 11th hour racing out. I've seen some designs from some of the rival companies for these Imokas, these 100-foot tries, the minis, the development that goes on in offshore sailing and how much fun we had doing that with the Volvo 70s. I think I almost enjoyed the development part of it as much or even more sometimes than the racing, because the racing was hard. The development was just like using your brain and getting a great group of people around to dream shit up and try to make it happen. And that was, plus we had a great sponsor, that when you have the funds to kind of try to do it pretty right, then you don't have an excuse. And that was my whole thing. I wanted to look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, you screwed it up or you did good. And I didn't want any excuses. And Puma was something I tripped over, and, God bless him, it changed my life.
I think you're right though, Kenny, that development, the building of the team, all that work before the race. That's 95% of it. But also, whilst the race itself is a good fun, a whole lot of responsibility, but the development side, getting that team up and running and working as a team is where the satisfaction comes from, I believe, as well.
Oh, and the highs and lows, I mean, Christ, we had a near mutiny in Singapore, and then, we had a love fest. You're doing well, and you always can tell the teams that are doing great because they never change any crew around. Teams that are doing lousy, just are rotating through left and right, and it's pretty standard. And that first time around, we ended up second overall, but we had some tough moments because, frankly, I didn't know what I didn't know at that stage. I've made it quite public that the morning we were leaving the dock in Alicante for the first leg, about to go sail around the world, I said, "Excuse me for a second," walked up the dock, went back and threw up. I was so nervous. I was sick to my stomach. It was like, what the bleep have you gotten yourself into? Because so far nobody has any idea. I don't know what I'm doing yet, and we were second on that leg, and it kind of just got the wheels in motion. That's all you got to do. You got to jump on the horse and just see what happens. And that whole thing changed my life. I think it helped running a business too, because a Volvo program, a Cup program, they're small businesses. These are or sometimes reasonable sized businesses, and you got to learn what buttons to push, when to be tough, when to give a hug, all those good things. How to be fiscally responsible, how to answer to authority. It taught you all the right things. So it's not just offshore sailing, but it's more of a life experience, I think.
How'd the responsibility of being skipper and in charge of everyone? We spoke to Tony Mutter a while ago, and he said as one of the best leaders that he'd been involved with was working on your campaigns. But just that extra responsibility of being skipper and keeping that extra eye out, much pressure or just something natural?
Oh no, well, you hope it's natural, but there's certainly pressure. I almost think, Bicey, that especially in America's Cups, the day of being the skipper and the head of the company is over. These companies are way too big and way too varied. I think Ben Ainsley is the perfect example. He's figuring this out, and you're going to see that program almost get turned over to the Formula One side of the Mercedes team. And he's got to make a choice. Do you run the team or do you go sailing every day? I don't think you can do both. The Volvo teams are probably just big enough to be able to do both, or just small enough, I should say. But without a guy like Kimo Worthington, you can't do it. We all have our partners in crime, so without a sponsor like Puma, who was our friends, they were our friends. The CEO would travel around the world with us, and the chief marketing officer, Antonio Bertone, I was talking to him on the phone just like 3 days ago. They became our friends, and Kimo did all the hard work. He's the guy herding the cats while you're trying to, while you're out trying to break it, he's trying to already figure out how to fix it. So without somebody like that on the sidelines that you trust with everything you got, you can't do it. You just couldn't do it. So anyway, it's hard, it's complex, but again, it teaches you sure learn from your mistakes quick. And I think as a leader, you got to be ready to put your hand up and say, hey, boys and girls, that was my fault. You see too many leaders. If anybody, again, talking to kids around here, talking to kids programs, I think the most valuable thing as a leader you can ever learn is put your hand up and say, hey, I just screwed that up. Because if you're constantly pointing in all other directions, it's no way to lead, and you're not going to gain the respect of the group. So when you screw something up, put up the hand and move on and expect the same out of you as you expect out of everybody else. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to be all right.
And you mentioned Kimo there. You've had some loyal soldiers along the way. Dan in as part of the sailmaking career, and Kimo in the essentially building and putting these teams together. That's obviously an important part of it, as you mentioned.
Yeah, you just got to figure out something they did bad in their lives and bribe them, and make sure they stick around. It's not too hard. It's pretty simple.
What, to figure out what they've done bad, or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for sure. That's easy. And then you just got to hold it over their head for the rest of their lives so they stick around. The amount of people is countless. Starting like with my family and my brother Brad, for sure, who's done a phenomenal job in the sport in his own right. And chemo kind of came along when I found the sponsor first, and then I had to show the sponsor I knew what I was doing. And actually, Jerry Kirby said, "Here's Chemo Worthington's number. You should give him a call." And he had just done the finance for an America's Cup program and for the Disney program in the race that you did.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need a budget. I don't know where to start. I need a budget. And within 2 seconds, he jumped in. And without that, it never would have happened. Not a chance. So yeah, Chemo was he's been a good, loyal friend and business partner for a long time.
It's interesting, Ken. I've got a bit of a theory about that. It's something I've been watching quite a lot, particularly see it in the sailing world, but it happens in all organisations. I find that the successful ones, often there's a partnership or there's, you need that sort of sounding board. You can see it work really clearly in the sailing organisations where you've got one person with another. You see it so often, and it's whether it's complementary skills, whether it's a sounding board or something, but where you've got two people working together over one person just dominating, I see much more successful organisations. I've noticed that a lot.
Well, fill up the room. Make another philosophy, I guess. I sound like an old man. Another philosophy is make sure you're the dumbest person in the room, but have the confidence that you need to be in the room, and make sure you fill the room full of talent and then listen to them, because too many people, no matter what they do in their lives, whether it's on a sports team or anything else, try to do it all themselves. And I'll tell you right now, it ain't going to work. And so you hire people, you hire and pay good people for a reason. So you may as well use them and give them responsibility and let them prove themselves.
Yep. We've mastered the dumbest person in the room piece, so we're good.
we permanently compete for it.
I work with two of them. We actually have two of them.
I was going to go the other way and use you, boss, but I thought I'd let you have the win on that one. Of course, I'm sort of trying to speed through your resume a little bit so we can get into all sorts of the things that are happening around the world that you know so much about. But of course, that ocean racing program led to the Comanche, which is one of the great boats that's hit the water in the last sort of even 5-6 years. The Comanche thing must have been just amazing, mate.
It was more than amazing. So then the story with Jim goes back. Actually, it started while we were working on the Puma program, and he had the J-boat Henneman, and his project leader walked in and said, "We're losing him. This guy, he's not having fun. He doesn't know what he wants to do with the boat. Can you guys go sail this local regatta? We're training Puma here in town." And all right, yeah, sure, let's go. And we all immediately hit it off, and we won this local regatta called the Candy Store Cup, and it's in super yachts, and it just took off from there. And he had he had some friends. Christie's, of course, is from Australia, and so they would go down to Australia every Christmas. And he started hitting it off with some of his buddies, and some of his buddies happened to own 100-footers. And they were kind of egging him on, like, "Hey, come join the party, man. Let's go. And you don't egg on a billionaire, first of all. That is like a hard. Do not dare a billionaire to do anything. And before you know it, I was trying to talk him out of it, because I had been working with George David over the years, and he was building a new boat. We're doing the Volvo thing, and I'm like, "Jim, this is serious. We're not messing around here now. This is big gear and big numbers and everything else." And he's like, "Do it, go." And didn't.
Wow.
and he treated it like his sports team. I've said it a million times. He sailed on it when we were day sailing. Christy sailed on it fair chunk of the time. She loved the offshore. She loved the offshore component of it. especially Sydney Hobart stuff. She loved that, certainly loved that. And we're cranking it back up again. He wants to start sailing Henneman here again in a month's time in the Candy Store Cup. So it all comes full circle. We're going to be back there. But Comanche, Juan K, who I've been working with forever, he was doing the George David program, the Rambler program. So I actually called him and told him, listen, the last thing I want to do is piss off George David. I'm not trying to compete here. This guy wants to build a boat. And Bruno Dubois introduced me to VPLP and Guillaume Verdier, and rest was history. We hit it off in about the first 20 seconds in a meeting in London, and just kept going from there. And it was fun, like Tony, and we had this cast of characters that we had just gone around the world with, and we were just dreaming shit up, and they'd say, yeah, we can do that. And it's like, are you sure? Yeah, no problem. We can do that. And next thing you know, we have this wild looking thing with a wild looking paint job and breaking records. I think the boat still has 5 or 6 records, and they're not going away for a while. And the other thing that it's manual, it was a manual boat. And so, I talked to Fernando about the Swan 125 that he's put together, but it's a powered boat. That thing could go break a bunch of records, but it's a different category. It's not the manual records that we wanted to break. So anyway, it pushed the envelope, right? And that's what Jim wanted to do. When he does things, he doesn't do them small. Let's make it big and push the envelope, and there's no question that boat did that. No question.
It's a weapon.
Just Ken, just quickly touch on that meeting. I know we've spoken about it, but when you first met with Guillaume Verdier, it's a pretty easy decision, isn't it?
Yeah. Vincent and from VPLP and Guillaume kind of had his own shop, and that's when the two teams were still really they were very much together. To be frank, I really like both of them, and they've had a little split, but I think they were great when they were together. They really complemented each other. And we were just sitting there in kind of this dark room, just shooting the shit for hours, casual. It's supposed to be like a hour meeting, and I think 3 or 4 hours into it, we're starting to talk about details, and it just never felt like there had to be contracts or everybody was doing it for fun almost. It was such a pleasure. It was really novel. It was really, and they loved having the Volvo. They kind of outside of French influence, and we loved having the French influence, because they're still wildly different worlds. And I say that with all due respect to both sides. They are wildly different worlds. So, we just shook hands. That was it. Done. We're done.
I think it shows in the outcome. The boat is a myriad of people's input, and it's produced one of the best boats ever.
Anyone that we've spoken to that sailed on the boat, without a doubt, hands down, the best boat they've been on.
Yeah, just that. So the first Sydney Hobart, it was disappointing because of that big transition that the skinny little guy just took off in, and we could never find him again. But I'll never forget going out the harbor at like 27 knots, and it took like 2 minutes and 9 seconds or something to get down the harbor to the end, and then watching the TV afterwards, and the guys on Wild Oats going, "Look at that thing go!" It was pretty cool. Every moment on that boat was a great moment, I gotta say, and a great team, and that's what also made it. It was so much of the same Volvo team we'd just gone around the world with, and again, another good Australian. You can't mention any of this stuff being successful without Casey Smith. And
sure. I was going to bring him up actually.
Yeah. No, Casey's he's back down there. He sent me a photo. He's back under the sewing machine at his brother's loft.
He's up in your world, Jordan.
Yeah, I know. He's doing lots of things.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
Case and I have got a fair bit of history together when he was back in Wild Thing back in the day, and I was on a boat called
God.
Secret Men's Business, and that's long stories we could go into forever.
He still
beauty.
tells Wild Thing stories all the time.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Well, if the shit hit the fan on our boat, he'd say, "Guys, I've seen way worse."
No.
And he would start it.
Yep. That's it. That's pre-98 days back then. But anyway. Yeah.
So this is kind of a little crossover then between Bermuda, I believe it was, America's Cup, and when Comanche actually got the transatlantic record, which you missed out on because you were in Bermuda commentating, right?
Well,
that was
no, it was one of the pre-events. It was the event in France. And so, this little sideshow of being an announcer, it started through the Puma, through the Puma contacts, because Antonio Bertone, who was with Puma, started to work for Coots and doing marketing for the San Francisco America's Cup. And they were struggling they were kind of going through a ton of different people. And I think Antonio, his quote is, "I told Coots, Kenny Reed can talk about anything." So he talked me into like $28 million twice. So if he can do that, then you should have him talk about the America's Cup. So I went and tried out, and Todd Harris and I started talking America's Cups. And before you know it, I had a little side career doing this voice stuff. But with that comes commitment. And commitment was I had to sign up for all the pre-events coming up to Bermuda. And all of a sudden, Stan Honey called up a week before, and we're on code green, red, whatever it was, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this, but there's a really good window coming up, and I think this might do it." And so he and Jim and I got on the phone, and I said, "You guys, you got to." Jim said, "No, the boat doesn't go. Now I'm old enough to be. I'm the Tom Whidden. I'm the adult supervision, right? So, no, boat doesn't go without him." And I said, "Jim, boat's got to go. As much as this kills me, we can wait around. There may not be another chance this year." And so the boys pushed off and broke the record, and I don't think that one's going to be around for a while. There's no question.
Sure.
Once you get in the front, of a system, the next boat's going to have to figure out how to skip a system. That was a good, fast moving system. As long as you stay on the front of it, that's about as fast as you can go. And these boats, these monohulls now are fast enough to do that and not get overrun by the system. And boys sail well, and I followed every inch and second guessed every single thing they did all the way across the pond, right straight to the record.
Wouldn't have done it that way.
No, you guys.
Straight into the record books.
No.
Well, the interesting thing, of course, is that, you use Guillaume and VPLP for the designer Comanche. Then when Guillaume was commissioned to come up with the fastest ocean racing boat, he came back with a 63-footer with the foils attached. So how do you feel about that whole thing when you look at, effectively the Amoca world? How do you look at those? Do you reckon that those smaller boats with the foils could do it?
It's all about weight now, right? So, excuse me, it's there's a lot of boats being talked about right now between the 70 and 100 foot range, and it's just about weight. If you could do a 100-footer for the water line when you need it, and then for the ability to pop out of the water when you can get it, you'd probably do it. But I think the weight is, the weight and how, the weight starts becoming a circular problem, right? So make the rig taller, engineering gets, more robust, and all of a sudden the foil has to get bigger. The foil gets bigger, more structure, rig gets taller, taller. It can't stop. So, that's kind of one of the reasons that Rambler turned out to be 88 feet. Because at the time, Juan was thinking, I remember having long talks with him about it, that he thought that was kind of the go fast size. He was really leery to go much bigger. And I think George was willing to go bigger because he had just sailed the speedboat, which was Rambler 100, the boat they flipped over in the Fast Net. But I think they were pretty convinced that they could do 88, and that was the right size. And then Guillaume and Vincent came along, and he said, "Which would you rather have?" It was literally, what would you rather do, a 100-footer or an 88-footer? It's like, well, 100 footer sounds better to me, but I'm kind of an idiot. They're like, well, let's do a 100 footer and it'll be faster. It's like, okay, let's go.
Okay.
But now with the foiling is in the game, it has started the whole conversation all over again, right? And again, it's weight and structure. So if they can figure out how to get a 90 footer out of the water, a 100 footer out of the water, at least skimming, then somebody's going to do it. But it's not an easy. It's not easy.
Could you imagine it?
Yeah, I'm imagining it right now.
Guys, it's the violence. Charlie keeps talking about just the sheer violence in these boats. It is, they're putting like motorcycle spring shocks in the bunks. They you just can't keep your teeth, from shattering in these things. It sounds.
Wearing mouth guards.
I don't know. Maybe
Have you done much work with Charlie when he was over there, or?
I know. No, he kept breaking foils, and his program was changing by the day. So I never went. I didn't go out sailing with him once. We were talking about it a dozen times, and same with several of the other teams. We'll get plenty of chance, I think, as this next round of boats starts popping out. But boy, I don't know. Have you been sailing on these? Have any of you guys been sailing on these new versions?
Well, not in proper madness, but the stories you do hear, and that the major slamming area of the boats is essentially the aft leeward panel, which is completely different to the way we were brought up, and especially in the 70s world. So, different world altogether.
Yeah, good. Well, it's good fun. It's as long as the safety factor stays in there in some semblance, because it's we're just uncharted territory, right? Whenever the sport breaks into uncharted territory, it's always caution doesn't seem to be at the top of the list sometimes, but man, hopefully somebody's in the room that makes sure it stays there, because this is different. This is just a different world.
That's a very good point.
So talking of skimming, we're kind of skimming across everything that you've done here.
That's it. I was going to say, Bicey, that
everything.
The problem with Ken is he can talk about anything. There's so much he knows, so we have to race through so many topics.
Oh, I've got so many topics down here, like industry and things. But the commentary side, what we were talking about before, how have you enjoyed that, especially during the last Cup?
Well, we got us out of here. First of all, it got us to a place where there was no COVID, and just from I got married down there. My wife had a ball down there. She didn't want to leave. We got super lucky just from a personal standpoint, and how much fun we had in New Zealand. We got to travel in North Island. We got to just be regular human beings while the rest of the world was trying to get their act together, in what was such a unbelievably crazy time. So first and foremost, it was just fun. But these are teams, right? We keep talking about team, and it's team in business. It's team in a sailing team. It's team in making, I think, the best TV show that was ever made about sailboat racing. And, the fact is, you can love the boats, you can hate the boats, you can love the Modern America's Cup, you could wish for 12 meters, you could want the J boats to come back. It doesn't matter. We have never seen sailing like this before. We've never been in the cockpit in high definition. We've never heard all these guys talking about their mistakes and their good moves. We've just never had that opportunity before. The cameras, the helicopters, how good the people have gotten at positioning themselves. We would have strategy sessions in the mornings and the evenings. Well, if the helicopter is here during this move, and I have a pushback button, or Nathan would have a pushback button. Hey, be careful. This is coming up next. Look left. And so we were just part of the sailboat race. It really felt like that. And Shirley, Nathan just became great friends. Stephen MacGyver, I think that the non-sailor always drives sailors nuts, right? They're a lightning rod to the non-sailors, but man, are they important, because they run the show. You have no idea how many people, how many voices are in your ears telling you to do this and cut to this, and he's got this script, and none of us could do that job. So thank God for Stephen MacGyver. That's all I can say. but Nathan and Cheryl and I had a ball. The whole team, the whole television team. It's just another boat race. It's another boat race team experience, and that's what makes it fun. And it's fun learning to do it better. It's fun to help create the show a little bit. You kind of take it personal. And then, of course, I'm doing my North job all the time too. So I'm able to deal with all of our clients down there, including 3 of our best clients who happen to be in the America's Cup. All the super yachts, the guys at North New Zealand, the guys in North Australia, all of a sudden they're getting a little more attention that they don't get a lot of times. So, you know what? What a phenomenal turnout.
What was,
It was.
obviously you got a really good relationship with majority of those yachties that were there. Because you're a commentator, were they open to give you more information or less?
So I'm probably giving away my secrets, but I played this the same way from the first day I started doing this in San Francisco. And that is, you need to give me good information because I don't want to be wrong and I don't want to make you guys look like idiots. And so,
Good point.
so just tell me what's going on so I don't have to make it up, because I will make it up. Trust me, I will do it. So don't force me into making it up. And each team, I usually develop 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's usually the skippers are on the list. I'll have multiple. It's wrong. Friends, not sources, but friends that I can call up and say, what do you guys know about this? Or what I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, or, Nathan and Cheryl and I'll be sitting around and it's like, well, let me call so-and-so. And you know what? The teams are figuring out that it's to their best interest to, let's not look foolish. We can look foolish on our own. We can all look foolish on our own, but let's help these people help us. And the more educated we are, the better we can explain what, frankly, sometimes is a pretty complicated situation of which none of us have any idea what's going to happen next, including the sailors. So it's kind of cool. We all work together a little bit. Everybody gets very defensive on, you can't show this, you can't show this. And I'm trying to say, you guys, it's going to be on TV tomorrow. We can talk about it, we can show it, but that'll never change. That defensive part of it will never change. But the fact was that the sailors themselves and even the team players, the team leaders are for the most part really good at sharing because they want the product to be good just like we do.
Which is a huge point. You mentioned that, even the sailors probably don't understand, or majority of the world sailors probably don't understand the boats, which we didn't. We wouldn't have had a clue unless you were able to give us that information. But I think the big step up was the amount of non-sailors that were watching. I have feedback from people, my family, for instance, were watching it, and they wouldn't sit down and watch a sailing race.
It's the hardest. It's the hardest thing that I do.
Yeah.
Is I find I have to be kind of that mediator between trying to bring in new. By the way, if we only cater the TV to sailors and only speak in sailors speak, we're screwed, and there will never be any growth whatsoever. We have to just lose that mentality. The mentality has to be, how do we become as inclusive as possible and bring in as many new people as possible, like your family.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line, though. You can't piss off the hardos, but at the same time lose, in some sort of speak, in some sort of sailor speak, lose all your family. Yeah. You can't, and so I have to admit, I take that really seriously, and it's a bloody tight walk sometimes. And I can read too. I read some of the shit. It's like, Kenny Reed's making us all sound like idiots. It's like, no, I'm trying to talk to your family. I'm just trying to explain a little bit about how hard this thing is in real terms, not in sailing speak.
I must say, you are extraordinarily good at that, Ken, in getting across and to try and bring it to the bigger audience. Jordan Spencer similarly is very good. But one question, how about kilometres an hour? As is the Sail GP. Is that dumbing it down a bit too much?
Anyway, it's good to talk to you guys.
All right,
good answer.
We'll give you an out. Wanted to take that point further, though. It manifests in the way the race is set. So with the America's Cup, obviously with the stadium racing, the short course and the tight boundaries, some of the tactical decisions are removed from the teams. I wonder if we could make a wider course or bigger course, would the racing be better, do you reckon?
It is probably one of the most debated subjects, the course narrowness, course width. If you're willing to have far fewer tacks and jive, really. So this thing happens in sequences, right? Here I am. I'm actually doing what you guys
did. Bar
karate. You've brought me in. So I like the narrow race course. So I'm going to start from the end, because what it does is it creates conflict on the water. Now, the conflict manifests itself in the early stages of these regattas because they suck. They don't know what they're doing yet. So, and that's that's all I want. We're looking for mistakes, crashes, breakages, something completely out of the ordinary, so we can go, holy crap, look at that. Towards the end, all of a sudden it changes because they become perfect. And when they become perfect, it's far less exciting for us to talk about. All of a sudden we have to talk about the nuance of sailing. And that's, I think, when the narrowness or the width of would it be better? No, what would be better is you have to keep changing the bar as the regatta goes and keep making the boats harder to sail, because as all America's Cups, remember the Z leg back in San Diego? That was going to be the be all end all. It's going to be this crazy leg that things are going to blow up and boats are going to be destroyed. Well, it became perfect. They became perfect and they developed perfect sails for it. Perfect jibes, perfect Mexican drops, perfect roundings. And all of a sudden it was just another boring leg. So anyway, somehow we got to keep making these boats harder to sail, because or limit the ability of the sailors to sail them this well, because that's what, to me, what slows down the game to the point of it's just not quite as exciting. I thought the finals were far less exciting than the Christmas regatta. The Christmas regatta was full of intrigue. Every race was insane. And anyway, it's that to me, that's the topic.
There was some murmurings about, amongst the crowds here, that perhaps the start sequences need to be longer to give them more time battling each other there. Was that ever brought up?
Yeah, all these things are always brought up. That was a hangover from Coots, to be honest. And I think from that, Coots hated the starting sequence. He just wanted the race to get underway, starting back in San Francisco and Bermuda. And in fact, he didn't want the TV to cut in till like 40 seconds or 45 seconds to go before the start. So at least we got a little broader start time. I think I kept sending notes to the big fella, like, make the starting box narrower, make it smaller, because that's going to actually start getting these guys circling around, right? But he was kind of mandated, if there was room available, this is how big the starting box had to be. I think if the starting box was half the size, all of a sudden you'd see some serious maneuvering and way, way more action. Yeah. So I was leaning towards that end of it rather than the actual timing end of it.
These boats you certainly could bring, with being the monohulls, you could certainly bring a lot more of that sort of match racing pre-start stuff into it. And it would be very good from a commentary perspective and from a viewing perspective.
Negative VMG, or called positive VMG in 12-13 knots. They were tacking through zero loss. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden match racing is back in the game.
That's it.
And one thing that I think maybe only one or two of the teams figured out is also how tactical the boats actually were, because they were sailing right up on the beach all the time. And they didn't think that through. Certainly the Americans didn't think it through. No question, Ainsley's group did think it through, where they just changed their whole power plant up and had a specific tactician that was just looking around. It was really shifty. I mean, it's right off of any headland we've ever sailed against, no different. Mm-hmm. It was bloody shifty. And so there are tactics to be had still out there. There's no question.
That's very cool. So, I mean, your role is a very technical role and being in the sales world. So before we get on to sail technology, what about the America's Cup stuff? Well, like the next edition, we won't ask you the question of where you think it's going to be. We know all those rumours are flying around. But what do you reckon will be the big changes in those boats if we continue on?
Yeah. I think they'll still work on the power plant. I think they'll work on the keel or the foil canting systems that, they all got them okay, but they're actually Casey took me through what they had to do daily to keep their keel canting system or their foil canting system working. It was insane. It was literally insane. So I think maybe simplifying of systems is probably high on the list. They're still trying to learn about this twin skin mainsail, whether that stays or goes, Lord only knows. I know the Kiwis love it. I think the people who kind of mastered it or really took it on as big a priority as below the water, they took on the priority above the water. I think they loved it. Whereas the teams that didn't kind of scratched their head wondering why are we bothering with this? The boats, I don't think they'll change much. At least that's all the rumors. But like you guys, I've done my best to only know what I read, and I only read part of it because I know it's going to change tomorrow. So quite frankly, I'm not really getting too caught up in it because it just seems like it's a throwing darts and the dartboard's moving all over the wall. So Lord only knows where this is going to go.
But you must have, with those twin skin mains, and they were North sails out there. I remember in the commentary we were talking about the systems inside between the skins. You didn't give anything away, but you must have seen and must know exactly what each system looked like because, well, at least some of them, because you were making sails for those boats. So, are we able to talk about the differences?
So what's the painting on your wall?
Yeah,
can we talk about that for a little bit?
All right. Well, clearly the most successful ones are the ones that had kept their shape down low and didn't have the boom interrupting.
I think all would agree with that. The stuff that we could all see was very clear. It's what was or wasn't between the skins that we're going to have to let the teams talk about. The funny thing is everybody's trying to keep their secrets, but what they forget is that now the interpollination of each team starts happening, and that's going wide and broad. Anyway, if it hasn't already, so I'm probably the last person to want to talk about it. They are my clients, and we do have really. It is a hard part of my speaking, and it's one of the reasons why when I do have a question, I'll go straight to the team and say, am I allowed to talk about X? And it could even be something that I've seen that they didn't give me the information, but the last thing I want to do is look like I'm giving away a trade secret that maybe I had some sort of insider influence. The fact is, I still to this day, I couldn't see. We have so many firewalls in our company. I couldn't see the designs. I couldn't see the tape layouts. I could see no part of these sails, even if I wanted to.
Okay.
And there's one person out in Nevada who sees it all. And it's a person who wouldn't know how to sail if their life depended on it. And they're the tape layout person, out in Nevada. So that's it. It's pretty interesting.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
I can tell you right now, Blair and Pete are 3 doors down from my house right now. So I'll go and ask them about theirs, but they won't
ask
tell me.
them, see if they tell you. So I would see them for coffee every once in a while. One of the fun parts is that we had that strip right along the waterfront in Auckland on the viaduct there. And there was a couple coffee shops that everybody went to, and you just never knew who you're going to meet. I could have done a TV show from in there, just who you're going to meet that morning. And those two guys, they're such forget the fact that they're such good sailors. This new generation are good guys and good girls. I mean, they're just good people. It's very cool to see. They're not stuck on it. They're sit down and shoot the breeze like another human being. I was very impressed. I was very impressed by all the team's new young generations. It was kind of refreshing to see, and I was really pleased about that. And those two guys led the way. Frankly, they really did. Just good guys.
That's nice. I think sorry, boss.
Well, no, just I think you were going to say, Jordan, we're kind of wrapping up on time a little bit here, but
I don't want to stop.
Quickly, Ken, and this could be just a conversation in itself, that the state of the industry, where it's at now, what you're seeing as we're all coming out the back of COVID, is this we're in a good place?
We're in a good place. We're not out of the woods yet. there's no question, as Sydney is finding out right now, and New Zealand's going to have to find out at some stage. Here in America, well, let's just talk about the industry for a second and stick to the question for the first time in my life. Last year was ruthless. It was from a day and night, 24-hour a day standpoint. I've never been a part of or done anything like it ever, especially right at the beginning of COVID, where major decisions had to be made with total blinders on. We didn't know. Anybody who says they knew what they were doing during that time are absolutely lying. We were winging it. And but every I called tons of really good business people that I knew, and every person said, you got to get more fit. You got to use this as an opportunity to get more efficient. And unfortunately, get more efficient means some of our friends didn't have jobs anymore. And I think the industry shrunk by 25% overnight. And certainly we did. And now with this buildup happening so fast and furious, again, I don't think we certainly didn't expect the front side, and we didn't expect this backside. And I don't think we've seen anything yet, because Europe essentially hasn't even started. So when Europe starts and the sailboat racing world in Europe starts, I think we're going to see another huge wave. So we are right back to 2019 numbers, which is just shy of a miracle. And that's with probably a leaner company right now. And it probably needed to be leaner, frankly. You find all the reasons in the world to kind of keep status quo sometimes, and sometimes you need a little kick in the pants. The world never needed this sort of kick in the pants. But nonetheless, we're a better company because of it. We're probably making better products because of it. We have smarter, younger people because of it. And I think that's a good thing. Hitting the refresh button every once in a while, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
So what about the technology developments? Like, your group, North Sales Group, is renowned for the technology developments. I'm expecting that you're probably doing a bit on the environmental front, not just on sale development. Is there anything that you can you can have a bit of a brag about?
Yeah, so the environmental side is a tough one. We are doing a ton on that. We're trying, as North Technology Group, to become classified as one of these environmental, to get into these environmental systems, you have to check off a ton of boxes worldwide. So we're trying to do it as mass sales, clothing, kites, rigging. We're trying to do it as North Technology Group, as one group, and that's going to happen. We're probably about a year away, but there's people in place and there's steps in place to make that happen. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's not just your day-to-day, how you run your facilities, but it's the materials you use. It's how you dispose of your materials. It's and then, the big kicker is, how did you dispose of old sales? And we are funding a couple master's degree programs in Northern Europe at a couple really high-profile universities to try to figure out how to take sailcloth. The problem with sailcloth is it's so damaged by salt and sun that what is it besides trash at the end of the day? So what do you do with that? That's always going to be the big kicker. What do you do? We're talking about giving credit for at least people giving their old sales back to us that we can dispose of in some other form or fashion. Of course, there's the bag companies and stuff like that, but that's a stopgap. We need to find a big picture way of figuring out how to dispose stuff and not just fill up landfills. And then it's how we're dealing with plastic and how we're recycling the plastic into there's kind of nylon type materials, there's Dacron type materials that are coming out made of extruded ocean plastic. All of our sail bags and all of our sail ties are very close to being 100% recycled plastic. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you make 30,000 sail bags a year, you're starting to make a little dent.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
So that's something. So anyway, this is being pushed by Peter Dubins, the owner of North Technology Group. They have the Ocean Family Fund. They do a lot of funding of operations. They were a big funder behind Dee Caffrey's last Volvo program. So So yeah, it's hard, but as an industry, we got to join this. Part of the deal was when we're funding this thing in Northern Europe about how to recycle old sails, we made them sign, and we signed, this is going to be available for everybody. This wouldn't be available for North. This is something that we would then give to the world if we can figure something out. So
Cool.
yeah, we got to give back as an industry, not just as an individual sailmaker. And on the technology front, the stuff that came out of the Cup is now starting to trickle into. You're gonna read and see more and more about this. The 3DI, the adaptability of 3DI. We didn't realize it, but we thought we were nearing the end of its how good can it get. It just had a reboot, had a complete start over. Materials management, materials layouts, taping structures, the robotics that goes into making these sails, and the accuracy behind all that. With structured luff and how the helix structure works, but how, that's actually evolving by the day. It's really, it's kind of a fun time. It's a fun time. It's definitely a refresh time, not just in how the business is run, but in what we can do.
It's crazy.
Exciting times.
Crazy. Go on, boss. You're going to say something?
No, I was just thinking, we're talking about helix, and we put on one of the new, what do you call them, the jib tops on the TP52, or the
Bros.
The bros.
The bros.
And we hoisted it for the first time, and I turned to the owner and said, "Do you like the look of your new sail, mate? Does it look like we're in J class again?"
Oh, now we're doing some quads too. It's are popping out there. So it's it's what goes.
But your
around
sheet on, and my God, off you go.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So no, it's a good space for sure. And just seeing the development, and like you say, you've got a bunch of young kids around you who that's their job, right? Keep developing and making this shit good and cool and strong. And
read the rules, because the rules tell you what you can do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's good fun.
So the obviously, I mean, we've gone way past what we normally do, and we're only just scratching the surface with you, Kenny. So I have to make two people on this call really happy, and you talk about the youth and the energy and everything. I just have to say, double-handed offshore racing. Any response?
That's it. That's my next. I'm going practicing tomorrow afternoon with Susie. Listen, we still have the Silja 3300 up here, and it's great to see Sydney Hobart. They're gonna do it, and there's 80 boats signed up for Fastnet, and
yes.
I was trying to get my rating certificate. By the way, for all regatta organizers out there, it's still way too hard to sign up for a regatta. Make it easier, and more people will come. Oh my freaking God! North Sails came to a screeching halt today with me trying to sign up for 2 regattas, and I'm still not done.
Yep, it has definitely gone that way.
Come on, it can't be this hard, can it? So that's my
especially a short-handed injury.
Well, it sure is nice having one other person. I just did block on race week, actually on a nice McConaughey built brand new McConaughey 44-footer last week, and that was fun. 11, 12 people and all the crap that goes with it, and then you just show up with some peanut butter and jelly and you go sail for 24, 48 hours. There's something to be said for that, fellas.
And you have said that it's some of the best sailing that you've done, right? The double-handed stuff.
Takes a lot to get me back up on the bow, Bicey, but there it is. There it happened.
When there's no choice, you can't complain.
No, it's good fun. I sailed with my brother quite a bit, and he and I hadn't sailed together in a long time, so it almost takes the pressure off this snow Olympic thing. I think this part is going to continue to expand, but now you can sail with anybody at any time, and all girl, all guy. But the mixed, you know what? I was looking around at boats at Block on Race Week. There's more female sailing right now than I remember in a long, long time. So that's awesome. A good thing. And maybe the double-handed thing has helped. Certainly the rules like 2 or 3 girls on the boat, for women on the boat for the New York Yacht Club IC37, stuff like that. There's just a lot of women sailing, it seems like right now, and hopefully that number continues to grow up. Everything they're doing with the Magenta group and everything else, it's really, I'm very bullish on that, and I think the double-handed has helped.
Yep, here.
Very cool. Like, I think it's the way of the future to bring more people back into the world of sailing. I honestly believe it's the way. That's why we harp on it. It's nothing to do with BP's definite involvement in it. We don't care about BP at all. But we have the whole reason Barcarati exists is to try and bring people back to sailing. That's why we do it, so we can make sailing happening again. And I think the double hander is definitely a pathway for the offshore world.
Well, we got to make a path, and like the Volvo program that Bicey did, that was a phenomenal path. And then the rules that really came out of that, like the excitement of their program to that particular Volvo race. And that led absolutely to the rules of a minimum of young people on board, and then the minimum of young people, including females on board.
Yep.
Wow, what a concept! It's being inclusive. We're at least we're trying. So we've got a long way to go, but at least we're trying. And the double-handed is, Susie, man, what a hoot! She's nuts, first of all, and I say that with all in all due respect. But she's just a good solid. Anybody who was the bow person on those 1995 generation IACC boats is nuts, because there was shit blowing off the deck all around you. It was like you were, walking through a minefield on those boats, and she's up the rig and rigs are falling down and everything else. So she's nuts. So she's perfect for the job.
Perfect. I love it. Love it. Hey, mate, unfortunately, I think we're probably going to have to call it there. We genuinely didn't even touch on about a tenth of what we wanted to talk to you about, but it was so much fun. So much fun.
You guys are good guys for doing this. The sport needs more stuff like this, what you do and Shirley and all these different groups. I think people, they have a hankering for it. They want to hear more. They want to hear what's going on in the world. So thank you guys for doing it, because it's great. It's good stuff.
Cheers.
Cheers, Ken. Thanks for joining, mate. Send our best to what you could arguably say that everyone in Newport, the capital of sailing, you'd say. Send our best to all, and look forward to seeing you around the traps.
And I will not mention this dry July thing to anybody.
No. Keep it down, especially.
Good on you, mate. I'll hopefully see you over in the States next year.
All right, boys. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
How fitting, gents. It's July the 4th, and we've had the great Ken Reid rap on the Stars and Stripes, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Star Spangled Banner is just playing in the background as we speak.
Yeah,
it is.
The fireworks will just be going ballistic.
Going bananas.
And there'll be many a barbecue happening pretty much this week for the mighty US of A.
Happy
Absolutely.
July
Happy
the 4th to, I guess that's
4th.
Independence Day for them, isn't it? It's their Independence Day. Happy Independence Day to our US
Have you
listeners and
ever
friends.
been lucky enough to be in the US on the 4th?
Yeah, I think so.
I've never been to the US. Would you believe that?
Oh, serious?
Really? Wow.
Hey, can I say something? Can I say something and
Say
be
whatever you
open and
want,
frank
mate.
with you blokes? Because that's. Can I please be open and frank with you blokes?
Yeah, go.
We make a living out of sailing one way or the other, albeit the top level, bottom level, mid level, wherever we are. We love our sport. We love the being a part of what we do. Can I say that Ken Reid is actually a bit of a hero of mine?
Oh,
Can I say that?
it's nice.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to say that, aren't I?
Yeah, you're allowed to say that. That's good.
absolutely.
Oh, you've done so much.
How good chatting to Kenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I've never
been
met
there.
him. I've never met him before. Do you realise that?
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
So I would just like to say that, and I'd like to say that because I look at people in our industry of what they've done in their lives, and you look at stories like Ken's, and it's inspirational.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done
BP, there's
Yeah.
nothing attached to this at all.
No.
Trying to get an X2 over to him, Marine.
Well, I think he's pretty happy with me. I've already sold 3 full sets of sails, so
Yeah, no, there you go.
There you go.
No, but what a ledge. Been there, done it, seen it, all just that pathway. And as I kind of just spoke about there, now double-handed,
Yeah.
fully on his agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's cool.
well, it's gonna be. You wait till we get over there.
yeah. Beauty.
Although you're my hero, Ken. You are now my competitor.
Yeah, on the race course. On the race course.
On the race course,
Yeah,
yes.
on
But
the
we do, yes, all good, all good.
All right, listener, no, there's secret pro news, boys. We got a little bit, but we don't want to talk
There's
about
always
it.
secret pro news.
There's always,
you know how it is at the moment. We seem to be sort of dragging this whole secret pro thing out and just
I know.
saying, yep, yeah, we know, but we're not telling you.
Yeah, I know. I think it kind of shit segment.
Yeah, actually, we need a bit more for anyone out there. We need a bit more than just Etchell stuff because as much as we like the Etchell discussion, and there's probably a limit to how much we,
You know what I'd like to
want to take it on.
You know, I'd like to hear instead of all the secret pro. How about a local hero? Like, I love there's plenty of people out there doing amazing work, and I reckon we should actually interview the odd local hero here and there.
Yeah.
So actually, if you've got any superstar local heroes, amazing, like legendary local heroes, just let us know. We'll reach out to them. I reckon.
Hey BP, can you play the local hero on the guitar?
I'll get it out and I'll give it a bit of a go.
We've got the lead-in music for it already.
Mark Knopfler. Dear. All right, listener of the week, boys.
Listener of the week, without a doubt, this week
there was one. There was one.
David Williamson.
Yes.
From Melbourne. VX sailor. We seem to be merging with the VX guys quite a bit.
Love for 'em.
We merge. Well, got the Nationals in Adelaide 2023, so a year and a half away. So you never know. And I've just been having a few little chats down the Adelaide Sailing Club. Yeah, so we'll see.
If that does happen, I mean, I know the Nationals are going to go ahead, but if it does get to a point where where the Bar Karate VX1 is going to happen, we really need to sail together. I think there's only one way to do it.
Yeah. No, of course.
Yeah,
but we'll do it that way. Basically, we've become the unofficial beer of VXs. Well, probably the official beer.
We'll be there with BK1, the Delta variant.
Well, but going on with this story, you could tell him name of the boat.
Quick one to David. Happy 60th, mate. He got a couple of slabs down with his boys on the VX. They've had a few. It's his birthday this week. He sent some good photos through, some good snaps. We'll actually post them up. So there may or may not be a merchandise pack on your way, Dave.
Yeah. I just do want to mention, Dave, absolutely, 100%. Old mate John Schaefer, we've mentioned him a few times on the show. Old Johnny boy, I've just been looking through, like he messages us and sends us notes all the time. And he's doing stuff. He's promoting women's sailing. He's running training courses. He's got, the Bar Karate asymmetric kite. He's doing training courses with that. He's helping people out with this. He's a pretty enthusiastic dude. So I just wanted to give him a runner-up notice for the week.
Well,
runner-up.
I'll just mention I've got the poll running here, and John's been nominated for Bar Karate Listener of the Year. So we'll be holding a prize giving night at some point in time
at the Ritz in Melbourne.
I love it. Anyway,
it's a black tie affair.
Yeah, black tie affair. Yes,
I'll come draped in your
red carpet,
Bar Karate t-shirt.
That'd be cool.
Red carpet with the sponsorship drape and everything, and you stand in front of it with your missus.
But keep up the work, Chafe. We're seeing everything you're sending through, mate. Even if we don't reply all the time, we're seeing it all. So good work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Speaking of getting some media time during the week, Mr. Nick Bice, the press conference that you alluded to last week.
Well, I was meant to get some media time.
Well,
put it that way.
You verbally got some.
I got some verbal time.
First off, and most importantly, congratulations as the race director of the the
Ocean Globe Race?
Ocean Globe Race, or the
can we
Golden
go
Globe Race? Ocean Globe Race.
Let's talk
Ocean
about that a
Globe
bit.
Race,
Let's talk about that a bit.
So in a nutshell, essentially a race done in retro style. Remember when we did interview Don, episode 44, I believe, talking about it. And in 2023 is the 50-year anniversary of the original Whitbread. So this is done in celebration of the original Whitbread. And there's a whole bunch of different classes that can qualify. But essentially, if you have a boat that could have qualified back in those days, it can actually do the race. But the truth is, out of the 34 entrants, 26 or 27 are fully signed up, ready to go.
Yeah.
And the remainder are actually of the Classic Challenge class, which is essentially any boat that had done a previous Whitbread or Volvo, for that matter, in Volvo 60. So, exciting. Kicking off in a bit over 2 years' time, so got a bit of time up our sleeve. But the discussions I've had with some of the competitors, discussions I've had with Don and his team, mate, this is going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
So this is a role that you've taken on. It's relatively full time from here on. I mean, must be.
It'll be not full time for probably the next 6 months or so. It'll be the odd bit here and there, but just building the relationships with the competitors, the stopovers.
Is that a job you need a hand with, or are you going to be okay with that, or No,
I'll be leaning on my two idiot mates to give me a bit of a hand every now and then. Maybe we should have a little technical session.
I've got an idea, boss. So
here we go.
The first race went in 1971. 1971, obviously. 73, yep.
My birth year.
I can only suggest when you are at the start in your official suit for the race start, for the goods doing all the work, and you're suited up for all the media stuff, you have to wear a 73 suit.
Oh, without a doubt.
Full-flared,
You've
beige.
nailed it. You have nailed it.
Bit like Austin Powers, you reckon? A purple velvet sort of thing with a white frilly?
Love it.
I mean,
bit of old "Do I Make You Horny, Baby"?
What? I watched your press conference, and what highlighted to me is there's a reason why there's no technology allowed in the race.
Working to our strengths already.
Yeah, I laughed. Oh dear. Anyway, congratulations, mate. It'll be a good one. We'll follow with interest.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's going to be fun.
Boys, there's a lot of sailing going on now. Suddenly, literally right this week. Obviously, we had the falling week this week, which was fantastic. Lots of photos and images coming out of that, and lots of our friends there at that. But then also some other major stuff going on. Let's just touch on a few. We'll just do a little bit. First one is the Pro Sailing Tour, which is the Ocean 50 Trimarans.
Yes.
They're
snuck up on us a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. They're in
all of a sudden
in Gran Canaria, aren't they?
They were, yes.
Yeah.
Snuck up on us. That seems to be a real push there, and we know quite a lot of people involved in that. And I've reached out to a couple of people. Obviously, Sam Goodchild's involved.
He's smashing it, mate.
Yeah, he nailed it. But we may or may not, as we do on Barkarati, have a special guest from that particular program coming up very soon on the show. So that could be cool. But yeah, it's a real cool little thing. It seems to be really gaining momentum.
Do we like these boats?
I think so.
I like a 50-foot trimaran. I wouldn't say no.
50-foot bloody weapon.
Yeah.
Yep. Like them. Probably now, well, putting them in the spotlight a bit. So now we need to probably follow up on it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it snuck up on us a bit.
It has, but believe me, I'm on top of it.
Yeah.
No, we're all over it.
Watch this space, listeners.
Yeah, the event 3 was Gran Canaria, which was literally just finished as of today. So, and it looks like Sam Goodchild's got that one again. But go and have a bit of a look. The Pro Sailing Tour, the Ocean 50 Trimarans. There's a little bit of video footage, not a huge amount, but good and interesting. Certainly, we're into it. The RC44s are on in Sweden. They're back doing a bit of racing. And in Marstrand, you boys ever sailed out of Marstrand? Been to Marstrand?
I haven't. The Cup were there about 3 or 4 months before I joined the team. They said they loved it there. But no, I didn't. I missed the opportunity.
We had a finish of the Volvo going into there. And then we had a inshore race and maybe it was just the leg start. And that was where Telly Blue
Touched?
My old boat. Oh, my old girl.
Was it Telly? Oh, whatever. Put her up on the bricks.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it was. Yes, it was.
Out of there.
Yep.
That was a big hit
So-
too. That was a massive hit.
Oh, yeah, that was
Easy
a
to do
bold
around
bender.
there.
Did you see them get? Did you see them trying to get off the bloody thing when they?
When they popped the winch off.
out.
Well,
Hey, another thing
do you
that's
know
on,
why?
boys,
Do you know why
What's
they
that,
ended up on the rocks?
because they hit it.
So what you'll find if you haven't been to Marstrand, it's a little island, no cars, and it's a very much a ritzy place for the Swedes to go there. And often you'll find the Swedes sunbaking on the rocks around the edges of the island. And
Okay.
yeah, you know what's going on.
Yeah, right.
They're a very attractive race, the Swedish race, and they don't often sunbathe with clothes on. And
Well, it was very rarely sun, so when there's sun, they've got to get it all done, right?
that's right, that's right. So my theory is that's
The
they got
eyes were
distracted.
out the boat.
Hey guys, another thing that's on, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Tour de Bretagne à la voile with the Figaro threes.
Oh, yeah.
That one sort of just got through us as well. So we'll come back with the results on that. That's still going. The first event, St. Malo to St. Key. So there's a good one.
Wee.
The GC32, so some falling boats going underway. So in Lagos, now it's kind of like some of the Sail GP guys are in there. So our mate Arno Sarah-Fargus, who jumped on the New Zealand boat, is dominating. Mm-hmm. Dominating, and you know the tie-in, as Bitey mentioned the tie-in the other week with the Lingy.
Yeah, he's with Lingy,
Potentially going to represent Australia in the America's Cup.
In Sydney. In Sydney.
And also we have our Danish mates there as well, correct?
Yeah, they got into third. It looks like all racing's completed, so they got into third.
Is that Nikolai?
Yeah, Nikolai Sehested. And his
I've never met him. I can't remember speaking to him, actually. Sorry.
and Roman Hagara was second on the Red Bull racing boat, so that was pretty cool. I found it really hard to find some footage, boys. I'm getting 1 minute highlights. I don't know what you guys are saying, but I'm finding it really hard to get some footage on that one. So, but I tried, but plenty of friends there at that event. But yeah. All right, the big one this week. Bicey, you're excited.
The big one.
Yeah. The Round Island race. The Isle of Wight.
Round the
Massive.
Island race.
The Island.
The island race.
Yes.
Massive.
The 90th anniversary, no less, of this particular race. 1,000 odd boats. And
1,169.
Get this. This is the stat I love. Mm-hmm. 98 classes.
Yep, 98 classes, more than 200 trophies to give at prize giving.
It's a damn long, boring
Jeez, that'd
prize
be a
giving.
snore, wouldn't it?
Especially if you do third, second, and first.
Oh, mate, you'd be deep into the Pims for that, I tell you.
Oh, hey,
Hey, has any of you guys done that race?
not me.
I was meant to.
I was meant to, he said.
I was meant to, but I may have got caught up a little bit in the excitement the evening beforehand and missed the 4 a.m. rib to go because it's a hell of an early start because I got to do it with all the, the tides and the amount of starts and all those sorts of things. And then I have done it, again in a more of a professional manner. No, she's full on, man. Boats everywhere. Awesome.
So I've gave it a crack too on my little RG 650 Mini.
Oh, did you?
Three
there
up
you go.
with me mate Mark Disney. Hello to you, my friend, and his good mate Big Head.
Oh, there you go. Big head.
Yeah, Big Head, who has a very big head.
Yeah. Massive's gone.
Anyway, it was on the schnot. It would have been 35 plus. Incoming tide, massive. Oh, it was wind against tide.
Yeah.
And it was just awful. So on starboard, we were making gains. On port, we'd tack onto port, trying to get out through the little needle bits there. You know what do you call it? The heads or whatever it is, the needles or whatever.
Needles, yeah.
You know how small and short that is. And so we ended up bearing away just to get past everyone because we were on port. And we just kept going. On a Mini, the second you bear away, you're doing 13, 14 knots.
Off you go.
35 knots. Yeah, but
How long did it take you?
we didn't get around.
Okay.
Gave up. Couldn't get out the needles.
Too many boats to get around.
Yeah, so many boats. I was looking at the numbers. So it starts at Cowes and goes basically anti-clockwise around the Isle of Wight.
Correct.
So Needles is sort of your first quarter. Just looking on their website, they had 1,169 boats entered, 954 finished, 84 retired, 11 disqualified. There's a bunch of boats still out there somewhere.
I ain't no mathematician, but I ran some numbers.
Just ran some numbers.
So the overall prize is the Gold Roman Challenge. It says Gold Roman Challenge Cup. I think it's the Shield or something, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a great race.
Yeah, but do you see who won it?
No.
It's the same boat that won it 2019, Eeyore.
Eeyore, yeah.
Oh, donkey.
E-Y-O-R-E. You know what that is, don't you? Eeyore, have you seen that thing?
No.
Well, I think it's the smallest boat in the fleet.
Well, you had a look at the Eeyore's a bilge keeler.
A little bilge keeler, 18-foot bilge keeler.
Yeah, have a look at the IRC results. There is nothing above one, like for the first 70 boats or something on the rating. So
it's crazy.
She was a small boat one.
And power play, the Mod 70 was first around, fastest, knocking off a couple of the all teams.
Yeah.
Oh, it must have been a bit attacking, eh?
Interesting times, huh? So anyway, that I mean, can you imagine being in the bar afterwards? Geez, we wouldn't mind being the bar karate in the bar after that. 16.
Bloody oath.
Talk about bar karate. There was a bit of bar karate footage, or photos, I should say, from the Falling Week last week as well. Did you see that?
Yes.
Bunch of photos?
Pointed out from the great Andrew Pinder.
Yes.
He sent a few photos through of plenty of people performing bar karate, be it in the bar or in the boat park.
But one Paul Goodison and some other bloke called Tom. What's his name?
Slangsby.
Slangsby. Slongers.
Oh dear. All right, boys. I reckon that's us. Another good week done.
Yep. Great week, gents.
Okay, just go and get my guitar. Hang on.
Oh,
Happy
just see where your
4th
guitar
to all
is.
our American friends.
yeah, that's pretty cool, huh? And good to see all the sailing going on again.
Yeah.
Stacks of sailing going on. The Olympics is 20 days away, gentlemen.
Oh, it's
20
exciting.
days.
Hopefully, we have some people to have a chat soon as well. So stand by for that one.
Yep, no, that's good. And then beyond that, we're all good to go. We have to go sailing. That's about the only thing we're not doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
One day.
But I've got my guitar ready. Band, you ready, guys?
Call it in. Count us in, BP.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And I look behind
Right onto it.
behind.
God, it's just so good.
So little time, I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna
It's all the band. It's not me.
live it every day.
I hope you find some time one day, BP.
Nothing in front but pitch black at night. All my stars are